So you already know that you want to be a successful leader, but what are those daily habits that the most successful leaders around the country are doing? My name's Kate Simon and I coach leaders and entrepreneurs all over the country. We're going to share with you the top habits and behaviors that the most successful leaders are doing around the country, regardless of the industry that they're in. Let's get into it. So one of the first habits of high performance leaders are that these leaders start their day at the crack of dawn. In fact, most of these leaders' alarms are going off to the tune of 4, 4:30, 5, sometimes 5:30 in the morning. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're thinking, Kate, I'm a night owl. I like my sleep in the morning. And believe me, I do too. And yet, this is one of the easiest, most accessible behaviors to everybody, regardless of where you live, regardless of how much money you make. This is a habit that we can all do, regardless of where you're starting from. So let me share with you why starting your day super early is actually really important. Now, what I found in my own personal experience with this is that if my day starts at 5 o'clock in the morning, I know that I have a solid 3 hours to myself, apart from feeding my children, that I know that I can focus on myself, focus on the day ahead, and actually attack the day from a proactive stance rather than waking up, getting into the office, and reacting to everything that's already happened. Now, here's some math for you. If you think about it, if you commit to waking up at 4 or 4:30 in the morning, let's just go ahead and say that you have an advantage of about 2.5 to 3 hours every single day on your competition. And when we're totaling up that 2.5 to 3 hours, what that really comes out to is about 15 hours a week or 60 hours a month. If you're working a traditional work week, which I know most of my leaders and entrepreneurs aren't, that is a 60-hour work week you gain every single month just by waking up 2.5 to 3 hours earlier. So if you want to know where to start with this, what I recommend is that you start going to bed 30 minutes early and waking up 30 minutes early. Second week, you're going to do the same thing, except you're going to move it back an additional 30 minutes, and then you're going to wake up an additional 30 minutes earlier. Third week, same thing. You're going to go to bed an additional 30 minutes early. So at this point, you're going to bed an entire hour and a half early, which means you're gonna be waking up an hour and a half early. So here's where things get tricky, because if you're like me, you come home from work, you have kids to feed, house chores to do, you've gotta spend time with your spouse, and ultimately at the end of the day, your window of personal time when everybody else is taken care of is very small. So this is where it gets tempting to lay down, scroll TikTok, throw Yellowstone on, and sort of just like mindlessly veg out for the day, which by the way, I understand that that's important if you're working as hard as you are. And I encourage you to do that, but have a hard stop that no matter what, your phone's down, your phone is either out of the room or off, and you're ready to go to bed by a certain time every single night. Now, that's the easy way to transition into it. If you're like, Kate, I don't have 3 weeks to get into this habit, here's what you can do. You can set your alarm for the early time tomorrow, and you can be in pain. And I promise you, at the end of that day, you're gonna be in bed by 8:30, 9:30, whatever that bedtime is for you. The important thing here is that you understand that when you make a commitment to starting your day early, that it's rarely ever going to be easy. There's gonna be days and mornings where your alarm goes off and you negotiate with yourself on whether or not you wanna get out of bed. And understand that in those first few minutes of the day, when you make a decision to either get out of bed or stay in bed, you are deciding the course for your entire day. So if you can get through those first 2 or 3 minutes of negotiating with yourself in the morning, you can do absolutely anything in your day. All right, number 2 on the daily habits of the most successful leaders out there. Every single leader that I'm coaching and training right now, they have some sort of physical component in their morning schedule. Now, this doesn't mean that all of them are training for Ironmans or marathons, although a handful of them do chase these extreme sports. But what this means is they have a period of time where they're sitting with themselves, they're checking in with their physical body, and they're doing some form of movement. I've got a variety of clients. They'll ride the Peloton, they'll do yoga, some of them do high intensity fitness classes, some of them just want to go for a walk. And so it's important to understand that it doesn't matter what you're doing physically so much as it matters that you're doing something for your physical health. The best leaders out there understand that your physical body is the vehicle in which you're able to lead, and this is the vehicle in which you're able to make an impact. And just like a car, just like an average vehicle, if you're not changing the tires, if you're not checking the oil, if you're not cleaning the the car out, you can't utilize that tool as effectively. So these leaders who are leading into a physical practice, some sort of health practice, they're not doing it because they want to be the most fit people on the planet. They're doing it because they understand their physical body is something that's going to help enable them to show up strong to everything else they do on a regular basis. So the third component of the daily habits I'm seeing in the most successful leaders out there is in the morning, after they wake up, after they do some sort of physical practice, is they actually have a spiritual practice. So this could be writing out gratitudes for the day. This could be setting your intentions for the day. This could be reading a devotion. This could be prayer. This could be any form of spirituality that you practice. They spend time in that spirituality before they do the rest of their day. Now, what we have found here is that some of the most successful people out there have a very strong spiritual belief. Now, this is something that I myself have gotten really curious about in the last couple years. I've interviewed some of the top clients we have and even the most successful people in and outside of my direct industry, and a lot of them have an incredibly strong faith and an incredibly strong spiritual practice that they are unapologetic on. So if that's not you right now, that's okay. And I would encourage you to think about adding that into your life to whatever level feels accessible to you for wherever you're at, because that is the secret sauce that I find in most of the leaders that we're coaching and leading right now. Okay, so one of the fourth habits that I see a lot of the leaders doing right now, and this is a little bit more trendy, is that they're finding ways to manufacture resistance in their morning. Now, this can look like a couple things, although this is the most popular one I'm seeing right now. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs and leaders are really into cold plunges. They're jumping into cold pools of water with ice cubes, and they're bringing their body temperature down, and they're increasing their mental strength. Now, this is not a video about cold plunges. In fact, don't ask me anything about them. I don't do cold plunges. And there's a lot of research around cold exposure, what it does to the physical body, but more specifically, what it does to the mindset of the person who's enduring the cold therapy. I'll never forget this. I have a client, her name is Jonah Flores. She's out of Minnesota. She has one of the best morning routines of any of the clients that I coach right now, and she takes a cold shower every single day. By the way, she also starts personal training with her personal trainer, 5:30 a.m. every single day. And I remember asking her, I said, Jonah, talk to me about why you get into a cold shower first thing in the morning. And, I was curious for myself, and I also just wanted to see what she said. And her response to me was that, Kate, I already know that if I can withstand a cold shower every single morning, I've already accomplished the hardest thing about my day. A cold shower might not be up your alley. In fact, it's not quite up my alley. That being said, what I want you to look for in your morning is where there's an opportunity to manufacture resistance so that before your workday even starts that you are warmed up and ready to take on whatever challenge comes your way. All right, guys, we're getting through a lot of the morning habits before the workday starts, but we're getting close to starting the actual workday. Believe it or not, these high performers have a solid 2 to 3 hours of self-improvement before their workday even starts. So let's just recap really quick. We did a physical practice, we have a spiritual practice, we did some sort of practice of manufacturing resistance, and we also talked about waking up at the crack of dawn. Now we're starting to talk about the actual building blocks of the day so these entrepreneurs can get the most out of their day. Now, one of the first things that these entrepreneurs do is they map out the day that they're gonna have either the night before or the morning before they even start their activities. What they're doing is, whether it's on a legal pad or a blank document somewhere, they're going through their emails and they're making a list of the acknowledgements or the tasks that they need to do in that given day or week. They're going through their text messages, they're going through their Facebook messages, they're going through their Slack messages, whatever messaging platform they're using on a professional basis or even personal basis. They're going through and taking inventory and acknowledging what's been sent and when they're going to take care of it. Now, it's really important that you guys hear this. This does not mean that they go into problem-solving mode or they go into actually taking action on what it is they need to do. They're collecting information from their inbox, from their people, from their Slack to figure out what are their priorities of the day. And that, of course, is if they don't already know what they need to be doing. Now, when they're mapping out their day in advance, it quite clearly allows them to see what is a priority that needs to be done that day, what is a priority that needs to be done that week, and what's something that, quite honestly, doesn't need to be done at all, or something that could be delegated to somebody who's maybe more skilled or more talented at that on your staff. So here's why that's important. If you're gonna map out your day the night before or even the morning before, you're going to be in control of your time, which means you're in control of what you say yes to, what you say no to, and we're no longer reacting and responding to the emergencies of the people around us. Now, we're gonna be going over how to identify what in your world is urgent, important versus urgent, not important. So that's gonna be for a future video. Make sure you subscribe so you can be first to know about that one. But when we're practicing mapping out our day, the goal of mapping out our day is to make sure that we're spending our time in our highest income producing activities so that we don't lose our day doing a ton of stuff but not actually accomplishing anything. I've talked to a lot of leaders all over, and they've all had a day similar to this where it's jam-packed with stuff, but at the end of the day, if they ask themselves the question of what they actually got done, it's funny how so many of them say, I feel like I was working all day, but I didn't actually do anything. So here's why this is important. If we're not gonna spend the time to map out our day the night before or even the morning of, what we're gonna fall victim to is actually reacting and responding to the needs of others around us. Now, there are gonna be times where urgent matters are gonna come on your plate and you're gonna have to stop what you're doing to tend to that urgent matter. But it shouldn't be happening every day, and honestly, it shouldn't even be happening every week. If it is, we have a bigger problem here. So mapping out your day is gonna help protect your time and how you spend it so you can get the most out of every single day. All right, guys, so we've mapped out our day, and here is the next thing that the best leaders around the country are doing. They're checking 3 things in their mindset to make sure that the work they're about to do is the most meaningful, positive work in a given day. The first thing they're checking is their attitude. What is their attitude about the day ahead? What is their attitude about this meeting that they have on their schedule? What is this attitude about the people that they're working with and for? And is that attitude the right attitude to get them towards their goal? So they're checking their attitude. The next thing they're checking is their approach. What is their approach to the problems they're about to solve? Are they curious and open-minded, or are they defensive and distracted? Are they tired and worn down from the night before, or are they well slept, clear-headed, and in a positive mindset? It's very important that these leaders check their attitude and approach before they roll their sleeves up and solve a problem. The third thing that they're checking is their expectations. What are their expectations of this meeting? What are their expectations of this hire? What are their expectations of the day? Now, what I'm going over is not a tactical list of a 30, 60, 90 or written expectations. This skill is more about what are their personal expectations of the day. Is this gonna be a fantastic day because they've decided, or is this gonna be a day where we're gonna see how it goes depending on this meeting or depending on how this turns out? So what this really means, guys, is these leaders are taking control of their mindset and control of their energy before they roll their sleeves up and get to work every day. All right, last point's really easy here. I'll keep it simple. After they've done that morning routine, the last thing left to do is to get to work, distraction free. They roll their sleeves up and they put their head down and they do the work that needs to be done. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and do me a favor, drop in the comments below which of these habits you want to start mastering so you can take your leadership skills to the next level. See you on the next one.